beloved Lord, his dearmost Lord, take shelter of uh, Lord Nishingadev. And so in this, also here we see that um, Prahlad is giving some examples of why to do that. Doesn't just make a request. He makes a request and he gives some understanding of why he's making that request. So sometimes, we all make requests in different ways of different people or different situations. And yeah, it's important for us to clarify when we make those requests, what is the purpose of making the request? So here Prahlad is explaining that the reason is because entanglement in family life is the root cause of material attachment. And we know Bhagavad Gita explains to us, I think it's 7:14. Let's see if I can find that real quick. In 7:14, that verse is one of my favorite verses actually in the Bhagavad Gita, because it's a reminder that material energy is very difficult to overcome. And somebody know that verse right offhand? I am going to find it, but uh, I okay. So it says that verse. Oh yeah, this is it. Daivaisha Gunamai, Mama Maya Durateya. And it says that this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So this is Prahlad's request. This is Krishna also explaining this to Arjuna, how to get out of all this material entanglement. And as we read in the verse, Prahlad is explaining that in this material attachment is rooted in family life that is where God is absent. When the Lord is absent in a family situation, then of course those persons they will be materially attached and they will experience all of these things that he's explaining here. They will experience unlimited desires. They will experience sadness, moroseness, anger, despair, fear, and that and the desire for false prestige. That all comes from having material desires, from being entangled in the material modes of nature. And unfortunately, when people don't have understanding about that, then they 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 continue to um, uh, just take birth again and again and again. So this is a very important verse, even though it doesn't translation, even though it doesn't have a purport. And so, yeah, the residents of Jambudvip, they're offering these prayers. And so in this prayer, so now we're going into what Sukadev is explaining in the next verse, because here with Prahlad Maharaj, he's as we know, and this is the choir here, we all know Prahlad Maharaj, he's simply wanting people to engage in devotional service. And one of the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj that's so wonderful and so beautiful is that he cares for everyone. It's like he really sincerely, actually, I said request. However, he's like begging people, to please, please, please take shelter of Lord Nishingade. And there's this verse that's also another one of my favorite verses. And yeah, I want to read the Sanskrit, but I don't want to mess it up. So I'm just going to read the English. And I am taking a Sanskrit class, which is just really wonderful, to help me pronounce these Sanskrit words. I'm really excited about that. But the verse explains from this same canto, 589. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious people be pacified. I have this posted on my desk that I can read. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thoughts of him. So Prahlad is, he's thinking about everyone. His prayers are so universal in that it's not just, he's not just praying for um, humans. He's praying, let everyone be pacified. Let all envious people, all envious entities be pacified. And so this is his mood, and this is the mood that Srila Prabhupada also had. Of course, as we all know, Srila Prabhupada, he brought this mood, into the West to help us to also exemplify this mood. And so those devotees that are taking shelter of the Vedas, taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, taking shelter of the previous acharyas, they're also praying to develop this mood of Prahlad Maharaj. And so moving on to this text again to Sukadeva Goswami. So this tract of land called Ketumala Varsha. So apparently there's different tracts of land in Jambudvip. Jambudvip has different varshas, which is different areas. Perhaps somebody could say, maybe, and this, I don't know if this is totally correct, but like different planetary systems just floating in space, kind of. So they're different areas. And in this particular area, I think Prahlad, his area was different. It's called a different, in his tract of land, it was different. And there are different rulers on these different tracts of land. So here, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that in this particular tract of land called Ketumala Varsha, Vishnu lives. Vishnu lives there in the form of Kamadev. And what's really nice and interesting here is he's saying that is only for the satisfaction of his devotees. Only for the satisfaction of his devotees. That caught my attention because it reminded me of that chapter in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where there's a chapter where it explains that Krishna pleases his devotees. He's in specifically in that chapter, um, Akura. Akura is praying to the Lord. And as you all know, Akura's prayers is just so, firstly, he's just so knowledgeable. And secondly, he has so much devotion, so much bhakti. So Akura, he's praying in that 10th canto, in that 10th chapter, that 10th canto. I think it's, can't remember what chapter it is, but anyway, how Krishna, he wants so much to please his devotees. We know that Krishna is Bhaktivatsal, and he protects his devotees, and in that protection, he wants to please them. I was listening to a tape, a class yesterday, it's very short, of Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying Krishna is in pain because he so much want the living entity, he so much want his parts and parcels, so he's in pain. He's crying out because Krishna wants to please his devotees. So here in this translation, he's living in this Ketumala Varsha in this form only for the satisfaction of the devotees, only to please his devotees. It's pretty far out. The Lord just wanna, just his, sometimes we kind of wonder, is Krishna really there? Sometimes. Someone might wonder like that. I don't think the devotees really wonder like that, but maybe sometimes. And if we can simply understand how much Krishna loves his devotees, how much Krishna cares about his devotees. So here he takes this form in this place, Kamadate. And even the devotee, even Lakshmiji, right? The goddess of fortune, Of course, she's always with Vishnu. So she is in this Ketumalavasha, in this place. And so here she is also taken shelter of the Lord, and the Lord is pleased with her service. The Lord is very pleased with her service, and the Lord is also pleasing her, Lakshmi Devi. And then Sukadeva Goswami continues that these include, okay, the Prajapati Samvatsara and all of the Samvatsara's sons and daughters. So this is a family here that we're talking about. And this family obviously have children. And so, as we know, Prajapati is like he's a person that kind of, what do you call that? He Prajapati, there's many Prajapatis, but they inundate the world with people pretty much with offsprings. So here we have Prajapati um, sons and daughters. And the daughters of Prajapati are considered the controlling deities of the night, and his sons are considered the controllers of the days. So that's an interesting. That's a very interesting point. Also, this is a very abstract kind of translation for me in terms of reading how Shukadeva is explaining this. However, we can understand that when there's a family, and especially in this yuga and time, these personalities are very endowed. They're not ordinary people, and so here controlling deities of the night. So they're the ladies. If I remember reading somewhere that they have like their lights are so bright at night. They're the protectors of the night, and the sons are they're caretakers during the days for the people that live on that Varsha. And then Prabhupada says the Prajapatis, Shukadeva Goswami says, the Prajapatis' offspring number 36,000, one for each day and each night in the lifetime of human being. So, okay, so that's that again is another abstract statement. At the same time, though, we can understand that these offsprings, they are representing the day and the night of all the living entities of human beings, actually. So it doesn't specifically say yes to humans, but I think Prabhupada mentions that at some point. And at the end of the year, the Prajapati's daughters become very agitated upon seeing the extremely effulgent disk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they suffer miscarriages. So, a couple of explanations that I read about that is that Vishnu's disc is so very powerful that when the Prajapati's daughters know that that disc is coming, or they see that that disc is coming, then they have a miscarriage. Then they have a miscarriage. Now, there's a deeper understanding of that, and I can't really say if I'm really clear on that myself. But there's something about those children that are miscarried that are the children of the sons at night. So the sons that protects in the day, when those children are born, they're miscarried by the Prajapati daughters, and because they're fearful of the disc. Now, I heard one devotee speak about this, and I didn't hear his referencing from Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, I'm not totally sure about that, but it is one of our scholars, one of our pundits that was explaining this. And since I'm not fully clear, I'm not going to say anything more about that, only to say there is a deeper understanding of this miscarriage. And perhaps Tarka or Yashid, somebody else might have one of you may have an understanding about the deeper aspect of the miscarriages. It's not just it's not just ordinary, like we think here in the mature world when a woman miscarries, has a miscarriage. No, there's a purpose for it. And apparently it, because the disc is so very powerful, and the women they become fearful, then those miscarriages are actually helping some children. So that's something I need, I personally need clarification on. Anyway, in the purport, this Kamade is Pradyumna, Vishnu Tattva. And so this is explained by Madhvacharya. And so we all know Madhvacharya, who he is and how he is responsible. I mean, we're the Gaudiya Brahma Sampradaya, Madhava Sampradaya. So he's the personality that is responsible for establishing the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a person in terms of uh, previous to Madhvacharya, there was so many different references about uh, the Lord being one, and there was so much need for clarification of that in Madhvacharya. He was the one that fully established who Krishna, how to worship Krishna and who Krishna is. And so here it's explained that he established, although this Kamadev is Vishnu Tattva, he is explaining that this Kamadev is Vishnu Tattva. His body is not spiritual but material. The body of Kamadev. Now, I was reading CC, and because there's a little bit of a confusion for me again in this text, because it goes on to say, Prabhupada goes on to say, Lord Vishnu as Pradyumna or Kamadev accepts a material body, but he still acts spiritually. So then I was a little curious. Okay, I've heard Pradyumna in many different with the many different explanations. There's Pradyumna, Krishna's son, and then there's Pradyumna, the expansions of the Lord. So here in the CC in chapter 5 in the summary, Srila Prabhupada explains beyond the limitation of this material world is the spiritual sky, Parayoma, which has many spiritual planets, the supreme of which is called Krishna Loka. Okay, Krishna Loka, the abode of Krishna, has 3 divisions, which are known as Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula. In that abode, the personality of Godhead expands himself into 4 plenary portions: Krishna, Balaram, Pradyumna, and it says here, Krishnadas Kaviraj, the transcendental Cupid, and Anuruddha. They are known as the original quadruple forms. So, okay, so there's some reference of Pradyumna there as one of the quadruple forms of the Lord, and the transcendental Cupid. And we know Kamadev is Cupid. So how this is happening with the body is not spiritual but material. And Lord Vishnu's Pradyumna or Kamadev accepts a material body, but he still acts spiritually. So on this planet, Ketumala, Varsha, we understand that Vishnu lives there. Vishnu is taken this form of Kamadev, so that's Vishnu. And then Lord Vishnu, as Pradyumna or Kamadev, accepts a material body. So yes, Vishnu is Krishna, so Vishnu can do anything. He can, whatever he wants to do. He can take a material body, not take a material body. Prabhupada explains here in his purport that even the Mayavadis, they criticize Krishna because they say, how can he take a material body? His body is material. And that in the minds of the Mayavadi, having a material body impedes the spiritual activities. However, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that no, in terms of it doesn't make a difference whether he accepts a spiritual or a material body. It doesn't make a difference. So if we understand that, yes, it's Vishnu expands, he takes so many, many, many forms. And some of these forms appear to be material. Like, for example, as we go on, we're going to read about how he, take the form of Matsudev, and Matsudev, whose form is pure goodness. Um, there's different forms of the Lord, and they appear to be material. However, they may not be material. They're not material. And so here, this is what it sounds very confusing, somewhat. At the same time, it's not, because Krishna can do anything that he wants to do. He can act spiritual in any condition of existence, according to what Srila Prabhupada is teaching us. So so all of this, what is the point? What is the point? Oh, we just heard about Prahlad Maharaj and how his point, his goal is to help us to understand how to care about each other, care about living entities, how to engage in devotional service, how to take shelter of the spiritual energy as opposed to the material energy, how to become free from material desires. How do we do that? Simply by taking shelter of Lord Nrsingadev, by praying to Lord Nrsingadev, and that will help us to become free from birth and death. However, in order for us to have this beautiful experience that Prahlad Maharaj is offering to us, we know that it's important to have a spiritual master in order to teach us and help us, guide us to embody this process of these processes of 1, 2, 3, 9, however, of devotional service. And so specifically, we learn Lord Chaitanya is inviting us to please engage in chanting the holy names of the Lord. Please engage in chanting Hare Krishna. That's one of the foremost aspects of devotional service. So that point is very clear. That is the goal. And what is the goal of the second verse that Shukadev Goswami is explaining? So what I could get from that is simply how important it is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes I find that I'm not always clear when I read Srimad Bhagavatam, everything. I'm not always clear. However, I do understand that simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam continuously, that Krishna, Janardana, the Lord in the heart, Paramatma, will open my heart to understand some of the things that I may not understand at this particular time. And engaging in this process of hearing and chanting, then things will be revealed. I will be able to understand. It's not that when we read Bhagavatam, or and I read Bhagavatam, and some things may not be cleared, I will never be clear. No. Some things I read in Srimad Bhagavatam when I first joined as a new devotee, I think I have a little bit more awareness about those things now than I did then. So the process is to continuously keep reading. And one thing we know for sure is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that Krishna expands. And here in this purport, we're learning how Krishna expands. Now, there's a lot of stories about Kamadev, and I'm not going to go into some of those stories because they're a little bit dramatic and a little intricate in some ways about how Kamadev was cursed by Lord Shiva. There's just so many different pastimes about Kamadev. However, in this purport, it's not clear to me whether this Kamadev is actually a demigod that's acting like this, or it's actually Lord Vishnu in when Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. So therefore, I'm going to go to the study of why we do this, study Srimad Bhagavatam, and how important it is to study Srimad Bhagavatam, and how ultimately the goal of Srimad Bhagavatam is to help us to understand this verse from Sri Upanishad. So this verse is from the eighth verse of Ishopanishad, where it's explained to us that a person must factually know the greatest of all. So that's ultimately the goal of Srimad Bhagavatam. The personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated. The self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. So Kamadeva is known to fulfill desires. However, this verse helps us to really understand that ultimately Krishna is the one that fulfills all desires. And so what happens when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam? This is where I'd like to end in this part of the class and then open it for some of those things that I'm just really not so clear about. However, I do know that by continuously hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, that I will be able to understand more some of those things, like how Pradyumna or Kamadev accepts a material body, but he still acts spiritually. So it makes perfect sense because Lord Vishnu, at the same time, I'm sure there's deeper understanding to that. So here we go. I'm just going to read a couple of these. One who is fortunate to hear about the uncommon activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the various incarnations as presented in the nectarian words of Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly brought back home to Lord Krishna's kingdom, the spiritual world. Whoever hears these narrations in Srimad Bhagavatam eradicates all sinful reactions and attains all good fortune. When a pure Vaishnava speaks on Srimad Bhagavatam and another pure Vaishnava hears Srimad Bhagavatam from such a realized soul, both live in the transcendental world where the contamination of the modes of material nature cannot touch them. Freed from the contamination of the modes of nature, the speaker and the hearer are fixed in a transcendental mentality, knowing that their position on the transcendental platform is to serve the Supreme Lord. So that's the goal of reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, trying to share whatever our realizations may be of Srimad Bhagavatam, is to remember that we are simply servants of the Lord. That's one of the realizations that we may get from reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And then there's a quote from Prabhupada in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam that says, a person trying to be perfectly Krishna conscious by hearing the words of Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita certainly has all the dirty things cleansed from the core of his heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. The process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord washes away the dirty things that accumulated in the core of the heart. And one last one, then I'll open it up. By contact with material nature, the living entities exhibit various symptoms of the disease of material consciousness. To cure this material disease is the supreme object of human life. The process that treats this disease is called Bhagavata Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, real religion. This is described in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, anyone who, because of his background of pious activities in previous lives, is anxious to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, he immediately realizes the presence of the Supreme Lord within his heart and fulfills the mission of his life. And so here, what I get from this purport is the residents of Jambudvip are praying. And in these prayers certainly are to help us to connect deeper with the Supreme Lord. And the way to do that is to constantly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, my dear Prabhu, sorry I couldn't give you more today. That was a little bit intense verse for me. But anyway, I tried. Hari Hari. So I'm going to open this. Maybe yesterday Tarka can give some highlights on Kamadev as Pradyumna.
Hare Krishna, Mother Virgin Leela. I am appreciating your class today and your discussion of some of the confusion that arises in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. There's, of course, lots of difficult and confusing passages in Srimad Bhagavatam. I know I've encountered many, and I'm still trying to make sense out of a good many of them. And this is one of them. This is I've been thinking about this for a while, and it's still not clear to me. Excuse me. It's very unusual to hear that any form of Vishnu has accepted a material body. Um, that's that's one issue, but um, I've just been trying to understand who is Kamadev and what actually is his position, and it's quite confusing to me because there appear to be contradictory statements, and I have not yet been able to reconcile them. So, for example, in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the story of Pradyumna being born to Krishna and Rukmini.
Yeah.
And the description is different. Um, I'll I'll read a paragraph from the chapter summary to illustrate what I'm talking about. It says, it is said that Cupid, who is directly part and parcel of Lord Vasudeva, and who was formerly burned to ashes by the anger of Lord Shiva, took birth from the womb of Rukmini, begotten by Krishna. This is Kamadev, a demigod of the heavenly planets, especially capable of inducing lusty desires. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has many grades of parts and parcels, but the quadruple expansions of Krishna, Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are directly in the Vishnu category. Kama, or the Cupid demigod, who later took his birth from the womb of Rukmini, was also named Pradyumna, but he cannot be the Pradyumna of the Vishnu category. Well, how is that?
Yeah.
You know, because this purport seems to be contradicting this. Then it goes on to say he belongs to the category of Jiva Tattva, but for exhibiting special power in the category of demigods, he was a part and parcel of the super prowess of Pradyumna. That is the verdict of the Goswamis. Therefore, when Cupid was burned to ashes by the anger of Lord Shiva, he merged into the body of Vasudeva, and to get his body again, he was begotten in the womb of Rukmini by Lord Krishna himself. Thus, he was born as the son of Krishna and celebrated by the name Pradyumna. Because he was begotten by Lord Krishna directly, his qualities were most similar to those of Krishna. So, I'm confused. I'm completely confused. I can't make sense out of this. Maybe Yashadev has some special insight, but I'm I am confounded.
Well, Thank you so much. This is what thank you, Taka Prabhu. What Taka read was from the Krishna book, and it's Krishna book 55. So yeah, I read that and I was like, that made me more confused. So I said, I'm not even gonna I'm just leaving that. I read it and it's all right. I'll leave it in my consciousness. But Yashadev Prabhu says, thank you, Mataji. I'm also quite confused by the description of Prajapati's daughters. Yeah, that's quite interesting too about them. Ultimately, Srimad Bhagavatam awakens love of God. Perhaps we don't need to understand everything. Yes. Is it possible that something is lost in translation? Please forgive me if this is a blasphemous question. I'm just trying to exhaust all possible explanations. Thank you so much, Prabhu, and thank you for your vulnerability and your freedom of expression. Um, I think I don't I personally, this is just my personal thoughts. Um, I don't think it's lost in translation because we know there are many. I mean, Bhagavatam is continuous. Yes, Taka Prabhu, I'll definitely turn it over to you. However, and I'm not saying lost in translation. To me, it's not at all blasphemous question. I mean, that's a very relevant question to me. But the way I see it is, bhakti is about getting purified. And I believe that as I get more and more purified, I believe that I will understand some of these things more. And I'm not at this point purified enough to understand it. So that's kind of how I take it. Like, okay, um, yeah, and I'm okay with that. Like you said, I don't always have to understand everything. Okay, Tarka Prabhu. Tarka? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
All right.
sorry. I'm having trouble with my computer. The my pointer freezes for like a minute, and I'm unable to do anything. Um, with regards to the daughters, um, there's an interesting passage in the commentary of um, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in which he offers a little bit of insight that we don't find in Srila Prabhupada's purport, which is unusual because usually Srila Prabhupada's purport includes everything that we find in um, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. But he says, I'm going to skip to the relative portion here. He says, because there's this discussion of the miscarriages after a year of the daughters. He says
Yeah.
that the fetuses of these 360,000 married daughters, which means nights along with the days of human life, are destroyed by the power of the Kala chakra, Maha Astra of the Lord. The fetuses refer to the time with its minutes and seconds, or to the uh, prarabdha karma results of the inhabitants enjoying in that land. Because the nights act as the cause of enjoyment of karma, they are called the fetuses of the daughters. At the end of gross time, in the form of a year, with the end of enjoyment, they are aborted. So there's that. What can I tell you? Uh, I don't. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but it's some additional information, and I don't know. This may not help Yashudev's question at all, but it's one more element to add to the mix. Uh, so that's all I've got. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Tarka Prabhu and Yashadev Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'm just grateful that I can just be honest and not know stuff. Thank you so very much. Haribol. And yeah, it's so nice to not know, sometimes. Sometimes it's like because ultimately that's like Bhakti 101. We can't really understand Krishna and how Krishna expands and how, not everything. Krishna is unlimited and how we can, we can't really understand him. Not really. And this is him as Vishnu. So Hari Hari. Anyone else have any realizations that they may want to share at this point? We just got a couple of minutes. Oh, okay. All right then. Kaden, how are you?
Hi there. I'm doing well. This is my first time coming to this, so I'm really just trying to take it in and realize how much more there is to learn.
Always, Kaden. There's a cartoon that I don't know if you're old enough to know this cartoon, but there's a fish in this cartoon. And this fish, I think his name was Nemo. Nemo. And the fish, he always would say, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And so the way that I translated that for me is just keep chanting, just keep chanting, just keep chanting. And so, Kaden, that's the prescription for understanding these things in Bhagavatam. Yeah, Finding Nemo, right. Yeah, I love that cartoon. Just keep swimming. So I just know by keeping chanting and hearing, just keep hearing Bhagavatam. And then things will be revealed more and more and more. Yeah. And trusting Krishna that, okay, when he's really ready to reveal himself in that way, he will. He will. So thank you, Caden. And thank you for sharing and thank you for being here. Nice. Hari Hari. Okay, I know devotees value their quiet time in the morning, so I won't call anybody else out. I just grateful that you showed up, and I'm grateful Krishna allowed me to show up. Haribol. Leela Kisheri. Okay. Let's see if you have anything in the chat here, Leela. Oh, yes, from
Hi,
Finding.
Bo. Good
Hari Hari.
morning.
Good morning, my love.
Yeah. I just look at it also as a wonderful opportunity to go to senior devotees or to our spiritual master and ask questions. It's like I'm not even
Yes,
trying to understand, but it just gives me more of an opportunity to have association, and that's always a blessing too. And then I always just remember that one line that hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam is going to cement me as an eternal servitor of Krishna, and that's an irrevocable fact. Like it, nothing can take that away. So, Haribol.
absolutely. And that's a beautiful point. That's why we have shikshas and diksha guru, so that we can check in senior devotees. And often, sometimes, even seniors and dikshas and shikshas may not be aware of some things in Bhagavatam. So, and that's okay. That's okay. But thank you very much for sharing that. Nitai Gora. Thank you, Leela. It's nice that you're on this call every day. It's so beautiful to have the association of the devotees. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ajamil Prabhu. Ajamil.
Hare, Hare Krishna. I just wanted to say that, first of all, thank you very much for everyone sharing their ideas of what this is about. And it gives us an opportunity always to just reflect and like you all were saying, just to hear and to constantly be trying to understand. And we're always in that position of trying to understand. So accept that as just a part of our process. And that's all I have to say. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class, Mother.
Thank you, Ajamil Prabhu. Thank you all for your support, your kind support. I'm just praying to understand Bhagavatam. I love Srimad Bhagavatam. Praying to understand. Thank you. Ashadev says, good point. There's a qualification to understand anything, including the apparently confusing statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes. And I learned yesterday, I was looking at a class that was being given in the Bhakti Center. I do classes there, and so this they were reading from the Prabhu was reading doing the class from the 10th canto, and he was reading, unfortunately, the Krishna and the gopis, and this pastime of Puja. That's what they're reading now, the pastime of Puja. And of course, it's a very intimate pastime, and from Srimad Bhagavatam. And so this lady asked a question because she was confused. How is it that God is? Because it's very vividly explained in the 10th canto. And she just asked, like, she was just really confused about the question. And so she asked, well, how could God be doing this, like having this kind of a relationship? And so one devotee, totally lost it. Not lost it completely. I'm exaggerating, but he was very pointedly saying, "You don't have the adhikar to understand this." And I was just like cringing, like, okay, well, yeah, that may be true, but however, how we say that to a person is so very important, you know. And so yes, it's a fact. She that doesn't really understand at this point. She's new, the difference between Krishna and Krishna's transcendental form, and so there's so many things, like, depending on a person's adhikar, as Yashodev is saying, where we just may not get it at that particular point, but if we just keep hearing, keep chanting, Krishna reveals himself, because it is Krishna that's ultimately helping us to understand him. He wants to please us. He wants us to understand him. So he will, once we become, at least, and I'm speaking to myself here, because when I looked at that verse, I was like, oh man, this is too much, Then I thought, Krishna, okay, you helped me to say something. And the only thing I could think about is keep hearing Bhagavatam. Just keep hearing. So thank you for your support, everybody. Thank you so much. Okay. Hari Hari. Okay, dear devotees, I will exit this class now. And again, we will see each other next week, Krishna willing. Haribo.